Hey Dan, great to meet you. Tell us a little bit about Qwilt.
So we founded Qwilt in 2010 with the big problem that we were trying to solve was basically the onslaught of streaming video into service provider networks. And the key, I would say, principle in how we were looking to solve it was to bring the content delivery function a lot closer to where the consumers are, and by doing that gain economic benefit in how the network is scaled and also in how quality is improved for the consumers.
And I mean, quite a lot of people are doing that now. What else are you going to be bringing to the table this year? What can we expect that's new from Qwilt?
So one thing that we are seeing from service providers is basically many operators are starting to build an edge cloud infrastructure in their networks. One that is composed of compute and storage that is very massively distributed throughout the network. And this ties very well with the principle that I mentioned earlier, and basically we're launching a software platform that sits on top of this edge cloud, and it has the intention of basically serving content across any source. It can be a service provider's own content, or it can be third-party publisher content. But the idea is to have it serve the content from a distance that's a few miles to a few feet away from the consumer location, from a resource that is owned by the service provider, and essentially create the potential to be the last layer of content delivery in the entire ecosystem.
So are you essentially creating a new revenue stream for the service provider?
I mean, we see this definitely as creating a value, both to the operator, but also to the content providers. Right. And when there's value created, we believe that there should be a way to monetize it, to create essentially a platform for content delivery that the operator can participate in. What that will be, time will tell, but we believe the market forces will dictate that.
Is this something that exists now? Have you started to see this being deployed?
As a company, we have over 100 deployments worldwide in service providers. We're evolving many of them to into this model where there is essentially an API that is portrayed towards the content providers, towards the publishers and the CDNs alike. And essentially any commercial CDN or a third-party publisher can delegate their traffic into this layer that is being formed by the service providers. We actually announced as part of the Streaming Video Alliance, which is a consortium we helped found, trials for this type of architecture during CES, and there were several content providers like MLBAM and CDNs like Limelight, as well as operators like Verizon that participated in these trials. And essentially there is a coming together of the industry, both a service provider, commercial CDNs, and content providers, and us as an infrastructure technology vendor that enables that connection to happen.
So you're kind of acting like the pivot around which these other things are circulating. And the API, is that something you developed yourself?
So we're one of several companies that are part of a working group within the Streaming Video Alliance. It's called the Open Caching Working Group.
Yes.
And the idea is to create a standard around how that interconnection can happen. Actually, Qwilt's name is, we're looking to basically connect the two sides, service providers and the publisher ecosystem.
Yeah. And will that work eventually be standardized? Are you planning to upstream it and make it available to other companies?
Absolutely. This is going to be a standard. We're still finalizing the way that it's going to be standardized through. Yeah. But the idea is that any vendor, anybody in the industry can basically implement this standard and incorporate it into their solutions.
So let's just drill in on that a little bit. How do you help service providers by handling their video content?
So basically we look at this edge cloud as being a layer for any type of content. And through the same control plane principle that we're leveraging for third-party content, we also enable what's known as an operator CDN for the service provider's own content. And essentially, if they have any type of video, they can distribute it into the same edge cloud compute and storage. And the operators have the ability to basically select how those resources are used. So if there's a big TV launch that they have on their side, we will allocate the resources for that. If there's like an over-the-top live event that right now the consumers are demanding, we can allocate the resources to that and also give the flexibility or the static allocation for those compute and storage resources in the edge cloud.
Okay, so you're balancing between multiple different services at the same time through the same device.
Yeah, the idea is that the consumers are going to be getting their content from a variety of sources, and I think every ISP agrees that that is going to be the case going forward.
Yeah.
And you have to build the best infrastructure to support that. And it means that it doesn't really matter what you're consuming, you want quality to be as high as possible at the lowest cost. This is what it does.
It's really interesting stuff, important stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who do you feel that your company competes with most right now?
So I think there's, just like as an overarching thing, there's a change in how network infrastructure is being built.
Mm-hmm.
Like whereas traditionally it was primarily routers and switching infrastructure, now you see caching as a function that is actually used to build capacity. There's some networks that actually very recently where us and some additional caching infrastructure were carrying over 50% of the network traffic without any route, just by essentially...
Or actually not carrying.
Yeah, not carrying.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is more important. Better performance.
Yeah.
Less capacity. I mean, the list of advantages goes on, doesn't it?
So basically, if you break that down into components, you would say that something that you did before with routers, you're now able to do with compute and storage. Mm-hmm. And this is the idea of the edge cloud, that you can actually create a new infrastructure of compute and storage and leverage it in a smart way and gain efficiencies both in terms of cost. It means those bits are not traversing routers, and you don't have to scale your internal network if you're a service provider, but also everything on the core of the internet. And then the other advantage is one of QoE. It means that if you're serving content from that location, less likelihood that it will run into network congestion points, but also latency is, you bring it down to the lowest level possible. And when we're looking into AR, VR, 4K, 360 videos, latency is crucial. And this is the only way to get that. And frankly, the operators are the only entity that owns these assets and have the capability to deliver it.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a really significant change in the way that networks are designed.
I think they're very comfortable with it. I think this is something that has been on minds. When we started out, I remember like one of the major MSOs we met like in 2010. They had this design in their mind, but it takes time until the ecosystem rallies around it. But you look at on a similar front, like MSOs moving towards an all IP infrastructure for their video service. How are they doing that? It's by pushing like a caching and an edge cloud infrastructure deep into their network. It's the only way.
Yeah. It's really interesting stuff, and congratulations on this new API development. Really looking forward to hearing how that goes this year.
Thank you. Well, we'll definitely update you guys.
Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you. Cheers.